I didn't hear him arrive. That wasn't his way. He slipped into my life on a golden afternoon in late September 2024, just days after I'd driven the final nail into the dock I'd poured my soul into restoring. His sleek silver SUV purred onto the crushed stone driveway of my lakeside cabin in Willow Creek, a quiet corner of upstate New York. He stepped out, holding a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my old pickup truck, his smile sharp and polished, but his eyes cold as the lake at dawn. Nathaniel Reed. He introduced himself, extending a hand that was too smooth, too calculated. I'm the president of the Lakeview HOA. That dock of yours is a work of art. His gaze slid past me, locking onto the dock with a hunger that wasn't neighborly. It was predatory, like a hawk eyeing its next meal. That moment, with his designer boots on my patch of earth, a familiar dread coiled in my gut, a feeling I thought I'd left behind in my old life. My name's Lucas Grant, and I'd come to Willow Creek to escape. For 3 years, I'd been buried in the grind of fluorescent-lit offices and endless legal fights as the lead investigator for the state's Environmental Protection Agency. My last case had been a brutal slog against a corporate titan dumping toxins into a river. We won, but it gutted me. I was done, burned out, hollow. This cabin, this sliver of peace by Lake Serenity, was supposed to be my refuge. The dock, a crumbling relic when I bought the place, became my obsession. Its bones were solid, its heart honest. I spent weeks sanding away decades of neglect, the hum of the sander drowning out the noise in my head. The scent of pine and fresh lake water was my medicine. I stained every plank a deep chestnut, my hands blistered but my soul lighter with every stroke. That dock wasn't just wood, it was me rebuilding myself, hammer strike by hammer strike. A promise of quiet mornings with coffee and lazy afternoons casting a line into the glassy water. That afternoon, standing barefoot on my finished dock, a mug cooling in my hand, I watched the sun ripple across the lake. For the first time in years, I felt whole. Then came the crunch of tires on stony sound that didn't belong. Nathaniel Reed stepped out, his wine bottle glinting like a weapon in the fading light. His smile was a mask, and I knew trouble had found me again. He spoke smoothly, praising the dock, but his words carried weight. This could be a gathering spot, he said, eyes gleaming. A place for the community. I told him I bought it for solitude, not parties. He chuckled, a sound that dripped with condescension. You'll see, Lucas. A place this special, it's meant to be shared. He left the wine on my porch and vanished, but the air felt heavier, watched. That night, my sanctuary's silence felt fragile, like it was holding its breath. The assault began the next weekend. A house 3 lots down later, I learned it was owned by one of Reed's shell companies. Blasted music so loud it rattled my windows. Speedboats roared across the lake, their wakes slamming my dock, their laughter taunting. For 2 weeks, they turned my peace into a circus. I stayed calm. In my line of work, the first to flinch loses. Then came the drone, hovering above my dock at dusk, its red light blinking like a vulture's eye. A few days later, I found my solar lights carefully installed along the dock, smashed to pieces, each one crushed with deliberate malice. At the grocery store, neighbors who'd once smiled now avoided me. Reed wasn't just after my dock. He was isolating me, painting me as the outsider. A warning came from an unlikely ally. Old man Harold Weaver, who lived down the road and tended his lilac bushes with quiet devotion, approached me one morning. His voice was low, his eyes darting. It's not about the dock, Lucas, he whispered. It's the water. Reed's been after it for years. Things he shouldn't be doing. Watch the lake. Before I could press him, a silver SUV rounded the corner, and Harold scurried back to his garden, fear etched into his face. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about a dock. It was about control. Reed had targeted me, and my refuge was now a battlefield. I stopped being a retiree and became an investigator again. My morning coffee became a stakeout, my walks a patrol. Then, one overcast morning, I smelled it petroleum, sharp and vile, staining the water by my dock with a rainbow slick. It was no accident. It was too clean, too staged. My phone buzzed with an email from the Lakeview HOA, signed by Reed, accusing me of an environmental hazard and demanding access to my property for an inspection. The hypocrisy burned. They were using my life's work to frame me. That night, under moonlight, I collected samples of the slick and clean water, sealing them like evidence in a murder case. I drove to a lab 2 hours away, handing them to my old friend Clara, a chemist who despised polluters as much as I did. "Off the record?" she asked. I nodded. The next night, I flew a drone over Reed's properties, spotting an excavator hidden in the pines, its engine still warm, next to a fresh mound of dirt. Someone was digging in secret, and I had the footage to prove it. Clara's call confirmed the oil was fresh, poured deliberately. I spent days in the county records office, piecing together Reed's empire. He owned half the lake's undeveloped land through shell companies, and old geological maps revealed his plan: a luxury resort with a secret pipeline to dump untreated waste into the lake's deepest channel. My dock was the key, the only discreet access point for his drilling. The harassment, the oil slicket, was all to force me out or gain control of my land. The final showdown came at an emergency HOA meeting. Reed had packed the room with allies, even a reporter, ready to paint me as the villain blocking a community park. I walked in, took a front row seat, and watched him spin his lies about shared dreams and my negligence. Then I stood, my voice steady. "I'm Lucas Grant, head of investigation for the State Environmental Agency." The room froze. I clicked through Slides Lab reports, drone footage, property deeds exposing Reed's plan to poison the lake for profit. The crowd erupted, his allies crumbled, and as state troopers led him away, his glare was pure venom. The fallout was swift. Reed's empire collapsed under federal charges. He got 12 years for conspiracy and Clean Water Act violations. The community rebuilt, electing Harold as HOA president. A year later, in October 2025, I sit on my dock, coffee in hand, the lake serene. A new public dock stands nearby, built honestly. Harold tends his lilacs, waving as a family fishes nearby. I came here to escape, but I ended up saving a community. The fight found me, and I answered. What would you have done? Fought back or walked away? Could you forgive a community that turned on you? Is one man's peace worth more than a town's future? Share your thoughts below, and if this story gripped you, like and subscribe for more.